Well, guys, we are back for another episode of the Liberal Asshole Show, episode 85. And what are today's topics?
Nick Fuentes wants China to invade America. Crystal and Carl destroyed Brianna Joy Grey. Jimmy Dore's meltdown to Cornell West. GOP wants to rebrand pro-life. Loser butthurt being a whore. Chris Christie being pro-trans. And Biden backs auto workers' strikes.
Alright, so what do you want to talk about first?
Let's start about the gay catboy lover, Nick Fuentes.
Such an American patriot, am I right, buddies? Wants China to invade America, and not only that too, oh boy, he wants them to come in here and kill blacks like they do to the Uyghurs. Oh boy.
Yeah.
And of course, if you think I'm just bullshitting, I am definitely not, as you're gonna see right here as we get this loaded up.
What if China took over New York City?
Wouldn't happen.
And what if they made New York look like Beijing or Shanghai?
Be covered in smog like it used to be?
And there were cops everywhere, and they cleaned up the streets, and they built mega projects and new skyscrapers. Wouldn't that be awesome?
I mean, New York already kind of is building up skyscrapers and all that. I mean, they're still trying to rebuild Ground Zero from 9/11. There's buildings there they haven't been built for like 10 years for crying out loud, so they're still doing that.
Wouldn't we support that? What if we had like Chinese soldiers on every corner, and if a black person started spazzing out, they took a sword out and cut his hands off? And he was like, ah! My hands, man! Shit!
Spazzing out.
And then they cut his head off. Shing!
Violent!
And
am
his
I
head
right,
went
people?
like rolling around. You know, his decapitated body, he like fell to his knees with his head off. What if that happened?
That would be murder and evil. That's
that would be awesome!
Yep, exactly.
It would be awesome, he screamed. So yeah, guys. Fuentes wants China to invade America, take over New York, have Chinese police everywhere. Gee, sounds like North Korea very much. And kill blacks when they, I'm assuming, dance and all that. Like, come on, guys. This is ridiculous and silly. At this point, I'm starting to wonder if he's doing this for, like, attention, because is he even relevant still? He's, like, lost a lot of relevancy, like, in the last, like, few years, I think. He's probably desperate for attention.
He's like, him.
Oh, my God. No, nothing about that would be good. And it wouldn't happen because America's too strong to get invaded. So, how does it feel American might prevent invasion? I bet China is salty about that one. So yeah, we're going to show about Fuentes wanting America to be invaded and of course being racist too.
It's no surprise. It's par for the course for Nick. I still find it funny.
It's hilarious. He wants to make America better again. Yeah, make America better by having a foreign country invade us and kill our citizens. That sounds so pro-American, am I right, peoples? Alright, now that the femboy has been done with, now on to the next topic.
That would be Crystal and Cole destroying Brianna Joy Grey.
And when you all see the video, the expression Kyle did when he had his his hands to his face going, oh my God, when she made one point, you're going to know how silly it is. So yeah, last week or whatever it was, on Crystal and Kyle, friends, Crystal and Kyle had a discussion with Brianna Joy Grey. And for all of you who don't know, she is honestly now on the verge of like getting close to like Jimmy Dore, where she is pretty much just a contrarian. She supports third party. I mean, she supports running for like third parties or supports third parties to the point where she only focuses on that. She only covers Democrats in negative light. Very rarely talks about Republicans being bad, and always, the Republicans outflank the left on something, even though they're full of shit. Yeah, like she's lost like any sort of like good graces she had with me over the last few years, unfortunately. Now, they had a discussion recently on whether or not Biden is good enough to maybe vote for him over Trump in 2024 and all that. And the whole thing is an hour long. I've watched it multiple times. Vosh covered it. Dylan Burns covered it. Rational National covered it. And, oh boy, it was wild. So Crystal and Kyle were on the camp of they would be more, they think Biden is better than Trump, and they probably would vote for him. Whereas Crystal did vote for him last time out and all that. And Brianna is in the third party camp, and she really did not make any points whatsoever. Came, like, defeated by and large. And that's why we say they destroyed her. Like, they didn't even really try, pretty much. She just, like, put no effort into it. Now, the debate was over an hour long. I couldn't find the timestamps of the areas I wanted to cover, and everyone else's videos were way too long. So I boiled it down to 5 points, basically, throughout the debate, and we'll just discuss it here, as I have written on the general. First point, Biden exceeded expectations for Crystal and Kyle, but not for Brianna. 2, Brianna doesn't want to try taking over the Democratic Party, wants to only run third party and doesn't acknowledge that it's harder. 3, Brianna will not vote for Biden if he's 10 times better than Trump. 4, Brianna doesn't acknowledge Biden and Midwest State Democrat Party's accomplishments, pivots instead. And finally, Brianna doesn't think Biden is better than Trump, doesn't care who wins. Alright, so you ready to go for all this?
Yep.
So the first point, Biden exceeded expectations for Crystal and Kyle, but not Brianna. As they said in the discussion, Biden exceeded their expectations, and he also exceeded my expectations. Like Kyle, and I'm sure Crystal, and you said you as well.
Yep.
We all expected Biden would do nothing when he became president. He even said so when he was running, that nothing would fundamentally change and all that.
Exactly.
So we expected nothing from him. Not only did I expect nothing from him, I expect him to actively be like, fuck you to progressives and actively vote for, support right-wing things as like a fuck you to us. So I did not think he was going to do anything good whatsoever. Now, he's exceeded that. And I have to admit, too, as someone who's not a fan of him, that I actually wanted to do a topic covering all of Biden's accomplishments, because I can't remember which video of theirs covered it. Someone's video covering this debate actually did a full comment on YouTube, listing like 100 things or something like that Biden's done, and pretty much all of them were awesome. And I wish I knew when I said I should screenshot this, but I didn't, and I can't find again. And hopefully one day we'll do a topic on that. But they listed a whole bunch of accomplishments that Biden did, including one recently that happened since we did the last episode, that he established a very strong national labor board, to the point where if corporations are caught union busting, the unions are automatically accepted. Null and void any opposition they have. They're automatically in power, basically. They get everything they want. That is huge. That will hopefully stop union busting. And now corporations are going to be forced. If we don't negotiate with these people and give them what they want, and we bust them up, the government's going to automatically force us to accept it or face consequences. That's huge. That's something I would only expect Bernie to do. That's not something I would expect Biden to do. That is undeniably good. And that must be acknowledged. Just like when we acknowledged when he pulled out of Afghanistan for 2 years ago, and the media never covered it positively, remember that? And that's when Biden's approval ratings went down. He did a whole bunch of other things. Tried to cancel student loan debts. And of course, the Supreme Court Republicans have blocked him numerous times. He's tried numerous times to do it. So he actually is trying to cancel student loan debts, which is something I didn't expect him to do.
Neither did I.
And a couple other things too that can't come off the top of my head. He's exceeded my expectations. And she contradict herself. She does not think Biden exceeded her expectations whatsoever. And then when Kyle pointed out, and she said, oh, it's right, I had no expectations for him whatsoever. So which one is it? Either you had no expectations for him, or he didn't exceed your expectations. He exceeded my expectations because I didn't think he was going to do anything. And even
exactly. Same for me.
She had the view, she came across as she expected Biden. No, she didn't expect Biden to do anything, but she also expected Biden to be like Bernie, which, of course, is my standard. Which is why, if I was in a position, I would have said, as someone said too in the YouTube comment section I just saw earlier today, Biden exceeded my expectations, and these are awesome things he did. However, that's still not enough for me to want to vote for him in 2024. And that's something I still agree with too, because I still don't plan on voting for him. He still has not done enough for me. But I at least acknowledge the good things he did, and he did exceed my expectations. She wouldn't even do that. She contradicted herself. So, like, what do you got to say about that thing, first off?
Whoa. Well, that's the thing. If I was in a swing state, I would. This is one area we do partially disagree. But it's like, but as I said, outside of like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona, and then maybe like one or two that are on the brink of going blue, yeah, I'd agree.
Well,
it's like, but yeah, Biden's greatly exceeded my expectations as well. And to see that Brianna Joy Grey at the same time is like, oh, Biden, I had no expectations for Biden, and he didn't meet them. My non-expectations.
Oh, yeah. She basically was downplaying all these things, like, these are awesome, but they're not good enough, which some of these things I do agree with. It isn't good enough, but it is a start, and it should be acknowledged. And I think we're going to get to the voting thing come up soon. The next thing is, Brianna doesn't want to try taking over the Democratic Party. He wants to only run third party and does acknowledge that it's harder. And of course, this has been a debate where there's like two sides of this, and then of course there's me, who's on the actual correct position. First, you have idiots like Vosh and other stupid retards left online that want to only try and take over the Democratic Party and never want to try help third parties whatsoever. They are wrong. Brianna is on the other position, the opposite angle, where she only wants to run third party and never wants to try and take over the Democratic Party. Guess what? You're both wrong. The actual true position, the correct position, is you got to do both. As I've been saying for years now, we do need to try and take over the Democratic Party, but we also need to help third parties try and take over to weaken both the Democrats and the Republicans. Like, come on, man. You gotta do both. One side's not gonna work. Now, with that out of the way, she, like I said, won't acknowledge that it is harder to take over, harder to get third parties in power than it is to take over the Democratic Party. It's just not. Look how close Bernie was both times. Even when they were rigged against him, how close he was to getting the Democratic nomination. He got like 40% of the votes in both cases. He was second place both times. Like up to 40% of the vote in the Democratic primary. He did get Hillary and Biden to do concessions and all that. And then look at the third party people. What did they do? Like Jill Stein in 2016. She got like 1% of the vote or something like that. Even Gary Johnson only got like 2 or 3%. Howie Hawkins, I don't even think he got 8% of the vote. Like less than 1% of the vote. So Bernie got way more votes and much more closer to implement what we want by running in the Democratic Party. It despite all the rigging that the Democrats do against us progressives, just like they're doing now with Marianne Williamson by trying to not have a primary, it's still easier.
Well, don't forget that every single one, primary is rigged.
Just like Republicans tried to rig it against Trump in 2016. Remember that?
Yep.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they try and rig it against. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try and rig it against him coming up too, because they know Trump's going to cost them dearly. So yeah, it is very difficult to run in the Democratic Party, but it's still easier overall. But now, of course, I still say we should try both, but try not to just dismiss outright not trying to take over the Democratic Party completely. Like, we gotta try it too. They're in a much better circumstances. Let's, like, for crying out loud, if, like, Cornell West, like, I support him running, but I still think he would have had a better chance if he ran as a Democratic candidate. Guess what? He would have more people watching, like in the debates. Millions of people would watch the Democratic debates. He would spread his message out there, and hopefully, I'm sure he would bash the shit out of Biden for how not good he is on the things he's bad on, and that would help him rise up in the polls. That's what Bernie did against Hillary and Biden. Point out how bad they were, and that's why he got up to second place at least. You're going to be closer to getting the Democratic nomination than you are winning as a third party. And of course, the argument, because this is another thing I would agree with too, is the main goal to support like Green parties is, let's give them the 5%, because if we give them the 5% of the election, of the votes, they would get federally matched funding, which means they'll get a whole lot more money than they normally would, which would be nice and would help out. But does that mean they're gonna like all of a sudden like win? As David Dole said he did a video on this. His argument was that them getting federally matching funds would not guarantee them to do better, because Ross Perot's party in 1996, after he did so well in 1992, did get that funded in 1996 and 2000. What happened? They did worse, and now they're irrelevant. Now, of course, I don't think you should go, the Reform Party tried and failed, therefore it would always fail. No, there's things that could work too. I mean, the Democrats and Republicans weren't the only political parties in America that were the two main parties. They were third parties at one point that eventually took over. So it can happen, and you got to try, and that's why I don't like people who dismiss third parties completely, like retards like Vosh and all them.
Exactly.
But Brianna, you're also wrong from the other perspective.
Like Vosh.
You gotta do both.
Yeah.
So like she wouldn't acknowledge that's harder to run as a third party, and doesn't want to try to take over Democrats, which is bad too. So we gotta see about that.
She's just like, I don't want to do anything.
Like,
I just don't want us to do it. She just sounds like she doesn't want anything done.
Well, like I said about Brianna and Dore at the end of it, they just come off just more contrarian, like Michael Tracy. Like, no matter what, it's just no.
Yep.
Well, Sherry, I'm not just no matter what. If it gets me where I want, I'll accept it. All right. So now, on the third thing, Brianna will not vote for Biden if he is 10 times better than Trump, which she said, too, in the debate, that even if I acknowledge Biden is 10 times better than Trump, I'm still not going to vote for him. Now, what's your definition of 10 times better, though, is the question. That should be a real question. Because if if Biden is 10 times better than Trump means he's like a neoliberal, which he still is, or like a centrist, like we thought he was going to be in 2020, then that is not enough for me to vote for him. But if 10 times better it means he's like it's like Bernie, then fuck yeah, I want to vote for him, no problem, because he would do what I want. That should have been actually asked more. That should have been asked, delved into more, so we know exactly what 10 times better means. Because depending on it, she either looks really bad, or I would probably agree with her. But if 10 times better means that let's say for argument that 10 times better means that he's like Bernie, you're not going to vote for him if he's Bernie? Like, oh my god. Yep. This is the problem I had too with a lot of idiots on the left too, like Harry and other idiots, where now they're like so insane they won't vote for Democrats even if they're progressive like Bernie, for crying out loud. He's sold out, or he's right wing and all that. Like, I will never get these people. I agree with them not voting for non-progressive Democrats. I'm not going to vote for them if they're not progressive. But if they're progressive, I'm going to vote for them. Like, I don't give a shit if they're Democrats. I'm going to vote for them. So if Bernie was a nominee, guess what? I'm going to vote for him for a smile on my face. If Biden all of a sudden, in these last year before the election, turns it around and became a full-blown progressive like how I want to do, guess what? I will vote for him in 2024. I don't care if he's Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Green, Independent. I don't care. If he advocates what I want, you're going to get my vote. Whereas these people, they won't even vote for people they agree with, for crying out loud. Like, they're that stupid. And I don't get it. They're like, just, at that point, you're just anti, like you're so anti the Democratic Party that you're not even going to support the policies that you want. And I just don't get it. So we got to see about that.
Neither do I.
Like, I don't get it. Like, the only way you could maybe save yourself, Brianna, in this case, if 10 times better means he's like a neo-lib centrist and all that, where I could buy an argument that he's not good enough for you. But if 10 times better means he's Bernie, that's enough for me. Alright, so then the next one is, Brianna doesn't acknowledge Biden's accomplishments and Midwest state Democrats' accomplishments, pivots instead. Which I think we covered someone like this for Biden, and Kyle pointed out it was either Michigan or Minnesota where Democrats took over the legislature in these states, and
Minnesota.
They passed I think if someone said it was Michigan, Kyle actually got the state wrong. But either way, they got all these accomplishments. I tried to find a clip on the debate earlier before we got to this, but I couldn't find it. He listed all these awesome progressive accomplishments to the point where I was like, why can't Biden or the rest of the Democrats throughout the country be like this? Like, if the Minnesota or Michigan if every Democrat was like the Minnesota or Michigan Democrats, they would get my vote and they would be much better off. We would actually have a progressive party for once instead of having two right-wing parties. But no, they don't do that, and she doesn't acknowledge it. Kyle went on like went on a yelling spree. Listen, policy after policy after policy after policy after policy, and she just sat there with like a pouting look. And after he was done, she sat there for like several seconds and then pivoted to something else. Don't even acknowledge it whatsoever. You know what I would have done if Kyle listed all those policies in front of me? I would fully agree with them. Those policies are awesome, and I would support those Democrats in those states. And I would demand that Democrats throughout all the other states and federally act like this, because then they would do exactly what we need, and Republicans would never be able to win ever again. Because that's the main reason why I think Republicans win, because Democrats are right-wing and they don't get out the base and all that.
Yeah.
But she just completely dismissed it. And she went pretty much like a tangent of, oh, all these things are awesome, but Biden didn't do, he didn't end student debt and stuff like that. I mean, I think we already covered, he's tried. She went on a tangent like he promised when he ran that he was going to cancel all student debt. And I don't recall him ever saying that, do you?
I don't remember that either.
Kyle's even said that too, he don't even remember that. I mean, if that is true, then shouldn't you give him credit for trying? He's tried multiple times now, he keeps getting blocked. Like, at some point you gotta realize, it's not just Biden. Like, yes, Biden has not done enough, but some things are also out of his control, like the Republicans, SCOTUS, and all that. Like, at some point,
we also remember that these people because they're so contrarian in that, they're not allowed by their fans and all that. They're not actually allowed to give Biden credit for anything.
Well, she did admit, which we're going to get to the next point about that. So, she wouldn't acknowledge that Biden is trying on student debt relief, regardless if he said he was going to or not. Then she pivoted to like Medicare for all, which Biden did not support Medicare for all, and he gave up on trying to do public option, which is a failure on his part. He is bad on that. And then when she got to that, she was like, World War III, Russo-Ukraine war. He supports Ukraine, therefore World War III and all that. Like,
for fuck's sake. If we were this disingenuous as you with that, that would be saying that you support genocide.
Guys, I'm telling you right now, I said this months ago. If the Russo-Ukraine war is still going on by 2024, and if it is Biden and Trump, that alone might be enough for me to vote for Biden over Cornell, the Russo-Ukraine war, because that is an existential threat, and Cornell West is so dog shit on that actually can keep me from voting for him, even though I agree with him on everything else. And I don't like Biden, but that one issue is enough for that. It actually could maybe vote for him, even though it would not matter whatsoever being a deep blue state. But that's existential threat, and it's like, he supports helping Ukraine, therefore ain't gonna vote for him. Which, I mean, if you really think that, go right ahead. But I think you're dumb. I think you're dumb,
Brianna, because nothing Biden does will get you to vote for him.
Next, I can't wait for her to defend China going after Taiwan and blame Biden for that. That would be hilarious. All right, so anything to say about this part?
That's the calling card of that group, is that they hate they hate Ukraine and think that all Ukrainians are neo-Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
hello, Hinkleberg.
Yep, Jackson Dinkelberg, who supports genocide.
Hello,
because,
Hassan. Did you see Hassan?
Yep.
Did you see Hassan talk to H3 and whatever about Taiwan and how stupid he looked?
Oh God, I can't.
Oh God, he is so retarded. All right, so now we're on to the final one. Brianna doesn't think Biden is better than Trump. Doesn't care who wins. Now Kyle asked her if it's election night between Biden and Trump, how would you feel if Trump won? And she said she doesn't care who wins because it wouldn't affect her whatsoever. Now, on this one, if you really feel that way, that's fine. And you know what? It didn't, like when Trump beat Hillary, I was not happy about it, but I wasn't, like, devastated like about like all the videos of Hillary supporters like freaking out and acting like babies about it. Like I wasn't happy, but and then people shat on her because she said she felt vindicated when Trump won. I mean, she was, guys. We told you all that Trump had a good chance to beat Hillary, and we were all smugly dismissed about it. And then when he won, we were right and you were wrong. Like it was, like exactly. Like the people, like there were people on the left side on YouTube and such back then that were just like Republicans were leading up with Trump and Biden's election, thinking that Hillary was going to win and there was no way Trump was going to win, and then they acted like babies when he lost, just like Trumpsters acted like babies when Trump lost 4 years ago. Yep. Like they need to be made fun of.
The difference being is that the libs eventually calmed down while the Republicans are still going 3 years later.
Yep, and of course they didn't try January 6th.
Yep. And like even a little bit of credit to Hillary, at least she eventually shut the fuck up.
And she acknowledged that Trump won that night, whereas Biden still has yet to acknowledge he lost. So that's one thing Hillary's better at, but you guys need to act better on that from that night. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you don't feel like Biden's better than Trump, that's fine. And for most of this time, I still kind of feel like Biden still is not better than Trump for me yet. Like, my life has still not gotten better under Biden. It feels, honestly, outside of the COVID no longer being an issue, and all the stimulus stuff that happened early on Biden's tenure, like the 1,400 checks and whatever, my life has not changed any different than it was under Trump or Obama or anything. So, yeah, Trump being president did not really affect me whatsoever. Same goes for Biden. So, yeah, I can actually understand her somewhat. But if people are going to go after her, I'm not going to complain either and all that. But, I mean, when all these accomplishments that we've seen during this debate, I kind of think it would be better now if Biden wins instead of Trump. Like these accomplishments, like, if Trump wins, he's going to negate every single one of these issues and try at least. And, of course, we remember in the last episode, I think it was when we covered Project 2025.
Yes, when the Republican plan to destroy America.
Yeah. Like, those things are evil. They want to ban abortion federally, even states where it's legal and people want it to be legal. They wanted to censor the internet, ban porn, genocide trans people. They want to ban protections to combat climate change, regulations on business, purge like the federal government and stuff like that. Like, that is enough to scare people to think Biden's better. Like, you gotta acknowledge that. And she just didn't. Like, the whole thing was weird. Like, Brianna, the thing is, you could, if someone else was in your shoes, I think they could have probably done a better job arguing the case. I would have done a better job. You just didn't do a good job. You pretty much acted like a pouting baby throughout it. Pouting as Kyle was pretty much owning your ass. And you just didn't do a good job. And all that. There's really not much to say about it. So what do you have to say about this discussion they had?
Yeah, it's not really much. It's one of those weird things where, like you said, we would have done a better job. Yeah. But then she did. She made everything look really bad.
Yeah. She wouldn't acknowledge she wouldn't even acknowledge Biden exceeded expectations. Like, come on, that's like, even if come on. Unless you're like some sort of hardcore partisan Dem or like very, very, very positive about Biden, everyone's expectations was going to be exceeded. You don't want to try and take over the Democrats. You don't want to vote for Biden if he's 10 times better than Trump, if that means he's a Bernie, basically. You don't acknowledge the accomplishments Biden or Midwest state Dems done, and you don't think Biden's better than Trump and all that. I think here's a good way to maybe wrap it up. Since we know she's going to vote for third party no matter what, here's what I would do in the situation come up next year. Since she's the only option, I'm on Marianne Williamson's train right now. She's the only progressive one, so I'm supporting her in the primary. If she loses, then I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I would probably support Cornell in the primary, since I agree with him and everything, but his Russo-Ukraine war take is so bad that I might have to not vote for him. And Biden, I think, is largely doing so good on the Russo-Ukraine war, and since I think it's such an existential threat that if he runs, if he's the nominee in 2024, I might vote for him just for that. I'll say he has a better chance of getting my vote this time around than he did last time in 2020 because I didn't think he was going to do anything. I thought he was going to screw us over on purpose as like a retribution.
Yep.
Like, what would you do if you're in a situation if you're an American?
It would depend. Marion all the way primary.
Mm-hmm.
What I would do in the general, and of course this is where we partially disagree, it would depend on what state I'm in. Like if I'm in, say, your state, I'd absolutely write someone else in unless is there. But if I was in a swing state, I would go Biden. But as I said, there's only about six or seven states that I would do that in. Those being Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia.
I mean, the funny thing is, I did say I would possibly vote for Biden if the Russo-Ukraine war is still going on, which is hilarious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, of course, the thing is, I'm in a deep blue state, so it doesn't matter what's going to happen, regardless if I vote for Biden. Whoever the Democratic nominee is going to win my state no matter what. So that's a luxury I get to have. That is a privilege I get to have, unlike other people, thankfully. I don't have to worry about that. But
unlike a couple of my friends who are in swing states. Like I do have a friend who's in Pennsylvania, and another one I think is in Michigan.
All right, so I think we've gone enough over this. Brianna, please do better. Like I sympathize. Oh yeah, something I forgot to mention too. She sympathizes with the accelerationist argument. That's something I forgot to add on too. Now, for all of you that don't know, the accelerationist argument is the belief that if stuff gets worse, like say Trump becomes president again and he does like Project 2025, things will get so worse that people will finally rise up and like replace them with like a socialist utopia and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what do you guys say about that?
Yeah, I think that sounds all right.
But do you like agree with her though?
Not really.
I sympathize with it somewhat. But I don't want the country to get worse for it. We need to make the argument that, we need to make the argument to liberals or non-progressives that you gotta support progressives because you guys lose to fascists like Trump. Like Hillary. She lost because she sucked. She was so bad. Not only she turned off progressives like me to vote for her, but she actively turned people away to Trump because they didn't want her to win that badly. And Biden I feel only won because of COVID, not even because of Trump. Like I think if COVID wasn't there, I think Trump would have probably won comfortably. Like people don't like neoliberals anymore. You have to drop out and endorse progressives, and that's why I still think hypothetically if Trump won in 2020, I think we would be in a better spot right now in 2024. Like January, like he wouldn't deny the election, or he would deny election if he won, but it wouldn't be as overt. January 6th wouldn't have happened because he won. Why would it be a January 6th? All the same stuff probably still, like Russo-Ukraine war stuff would happen, stuff like that. Roe v. Wade, I mean to say, would still happen. And you know what? If Roe v. Wade being overturned happened under Trump, it would amplify us because, see, we have a target now. Trump, he ended Roe v. Wade. He's in power. Let's get rid of him in the midterms. I think the Democrats would have easily won in a blowout. Because remember, they lost the House in 2022. They would have. I think they would have easily. They lost. They lost.
Also remember that the the Republicans are so fucking
far right that they blew their red wave.
So self-destructive that there isn't much going to get done to each other anyway.
Yeah, like I think if Trump lost, one, the Democrats would easily destroy in the 2022 midterms. That we would have the House and we did have the Senate. Well, actually, no. The Democrats might not have won the Senate if Trump won because the reason why they got the two senators in Georgia is because Trump voters did not turn out to vote because they felt it was going to be rigged.
Yeah,
so not bother.
That's
So
right.
if Trump won, they probably would have gotten the Senate. But in 2022, guess what? The Democrats, I feel, would get both and landslide and have this humongous support that Trump wouldn't be able to do anything, and we keep hammer it over these 4 years to liberals that, no, you are wrong. We tried with Hillary. We tried with Biden. They both lost. You are wrong. Biden was not the electable candidate. It was Bernie. All the polls showed it. We hammer it over and over and over again, bash it into their heads until they finally cave and force him to support a progressive in 2024. Because guess what? That's what Trumpsters did in 2016, because they said the same thing about Romney in 2012. He's too moderate. He's not going to beat Obama and all. We need to go more far right to win. And when he lost, they went, see, told you so, and they kept bashing it over and over and over again. Eventually, the party became more far right, and then Trump won. We have to follow their strategy. We have to bash the Democrats over the head until they finally cave, or if they don't, we force them to cave. That's how I think. So that on that regard, accelerationism I sympathize with, but I still don't want America to get worse in that regard. So I'm a little bit mixed on that one. So we had to say about that. Oh God.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary, I'd say.
Can't believe I forgot about that too. Writing that down earlier to get so quickly done. All right, so I think we've finally talked enough about Brianna Joy Grey and Crystal and Kyle's debate. Kyle and Crystal, you did awesome. Brianna, even when I sympathize with your arguments quite a lot, you need to do a little bit better than that. Like
a lot better.
If we were in your spot, we would make your arguments a whole lot better. All right, so on to the next topic.
That'll be Jimmy Dore's meltdowns at Cornell West.
Oh my gosh, that was funny too. And all that. And of course, my dumbass forgot to get a picture on that. So while we wait for, I maybe try and get that. Actually, no, don't bother with that. I'm not gonna have enough time. Jimmy Dore recently had Cornell West on his show. Now, of course, for all of you who don't remember, of course, when Cornell announced his run, he was going to run on the People's Party, which is Dore's party. And then he dropped out because of all the allegations of their owner. Remember, Nick Brandon, the sexual assault allegations.
Yep.
And of course, as we said, the People's Party has like 3 states they're running in. That's not going to be enough to win the presidential nomination.
Nowhere near.
Yeah, Green Party at least has a chance. So he went to the Green Party. I think we covered both things. And Dore had a complete meltdown over it. Fucking baby. Yep. Oh, boo-hoo. He didn't went to your party.
Win.
So he just had on Cornell recently to talk. And oh boy, it was pretty much a shit show, to the point where Dore pretty much scared Cornell West off completely. He scared off someone who liked him because he was so insane. Oh my God. He was such a Karen over it. So we actually have, because it was too long of a video to cover, we actually have 2 things covering that discussion. First one was Dore thinks West is pro-Biden, and 2, Dore's obsessed over COVID still. So let's get to the first one. He thinks Cornell, and he actually had this as the thumbnail, which I was going to have as the picture, but I forgot to put on OBS, that the thumbnail for his discussion is that he had a thumbnail of Cornell saying, Biden is better than Trump. Which, Cornell did, at least in 2020, agree with that. He voted for Biden in 2020. And you know what? I don't agree with him doing that. I don't agree with like Bernie doing that. But you know what? I'm also not going to make a big deal about it. It's just going to go out one ear out the other. I don't agree with them voting for him, but I'm not going to care either. I'm not going to hold it against him like, you voted for Biden, or like Bernie voted for Hillary and such. Therefore, I'm never going to support you ever again. No, fuck off. Bernie still has like all the policy issues. Same goes for Cornell, except the Russo-Ukraine stuff. Like, I'm going to support them on the issues. Just because I disagree with them on voting for Biden does not mean I'm going to not support him. So the fact that he thinks that that is an argument against him, sorry, that's not going to work on me. And then, I think in the debate, too, he pointed out how Biden was better than Trump, and Dore was just not having it. It was hilarious how maudlin he was. So we had to see about that to start off with.
Oh, jeez. But that's the thing. Like, I recognise that with Harry, he was like, you only agree with this because you suck Biden's dick, pedophile.
Yep, he just would not listen. And then the next one, this is the funny thing that led him to have a complete meltdown. Dore is still obsessing over COVID. He's still obsessing over vaccines. I don't know what is it like the last month or so. him, Dimful, and other right-wing idiots are now obsessing over like lockdowns, vax mandates, mask mandates, and all that. What is it with you guys? COVID is almost near an endemic now. It's not really a threat anymore, and you guys are
more epidemic. It's more epidemic. Like it's like the flu now. So it's still
a concern. It's not. It's still a concern, but it's not.
Be alert, but not alarmed now.
Yeah, like COVID is not that big of a concern as it was back in 2020 or 2021, and you guys are still going on the grifting COVID train, for crying out loud. What is it with this? But he basically tried to convince Cornell that the lockdowns are the most important thing right now for a presidential candidate. No, guys, like we said, COVID is near endemic. There's no lockdowns. There was no federal lockdowns either back in 2020 or 21. Those were states doing it. There was, I don't think, no federal mask mandates except in federal buildings. Anywhere else, like businesses and stuff, that's just business doing what business rights. Remember, you guys support like business not making gay wedding cakes. That also goes. If people if business don't want to serve you, you don't wear a mask. Tough shit for you, and all that. It's like there was no federal mask mandate, and likewise, there also was no federal vax mandate. Maybe I'm sure like some businesses had that, which of course, hey, that's capitalism for you. Business rights. That's your view, not mine. That's your guys' view when it comes to like gay wedding cakes and all that. But that also applies to vaccines and stuff as well, and maybe like hospitals and stuff, which would make sense because you want people to be as safe as possible going into hospitals, especially with a contagious disease like COVID and stuff like that. And also, your rights to not get vaccinated violates our rights to not get sick. And I think that right overrides your right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, and Cornell pretty much went like as nice as possible. Like, nah, man, the lockdowns and stuff are not that important. It's not important. It's not gonna be my primary focus. I'm gonna prioritize like social justice stuff like that.
And they're not coming back either. Yep. Like Dimful was fear mongering about.
Yeah, and Dore's like, you support black business being locked down. Sounds like you're the racist one and stuff like that.
I remember that. I remember. That reminds me of Dylan Burns' debate that he had, where the guy he was arguing with was claiming that if you support vaccine mandates, you're a white supremacist. You're a racist.
Well, it's not just black business that went out. It was a whole bunch of business went out because of COVID. But the problem was, it wasn't the lockdown that was the problem. The problem was is we didn't have UBI like a whole bunch of other countries had. Yep. If those businesses had UBI, maybe they would be okay and running right now. Like the lockdowns at the time were viewed to be needed to help stop the spread of COVID. And when it's a major virus and pandemic like that, we need to try everything we can to try and get under control. It killed over 1 million Americans, I think, for crying out loud. That's more bloodier than that's more deaths than the freaking American Civil War, which is the bloodiest war in American history, for crying out loud. In 1 year. Yeah. Like, that's huge. And it killed, like, I think, did it kill up to maybe 10 million people around the world? I'm actually
I think the estimate, due to all the other due to places like India and that not being able to having grossly undercounted, I'd say hold on.
I'm looking up Wikipedia right now. Let's see.
I know China's has jumped.
According to this on Wikipedia, there have been almost 771 million confirmed cases of COVID, with a reported estimate. No, reported deaths are almost 7 million, whereas estimated, so it's not like fact-based, between 17 to 31 million deaths. So that's a lot of people dying. That's true. Like 7 million people, that's a lot. 31 million at the high estimate, if that was true, that could be almost up to 1% of the population, for crying out loud, the world. That's a lot of people. That's probably more people than your country, for crying out loud. If it was in the high estimation.
Yep, that's more than the population of Australia by.
Dude,
that's actually more than the combined populations of Australia and New Zealand.
If the reported deaths of 7 million, that's more people than my state, for crying out loud. We have like just 6.2 million. Like,
yep, that's more people than New Zealand, which is a lot.
Yeah, like, this is probably the most deadliest pandemic, probably since the Spanish flu. And that killed like over 100 million people back then. That was like 10% of the world's population back then. Like,
don't forget that one has. Don't forget that one had a variant that had a 100% death rate.
Yeah, like.
You got it. You were dead.
Yeah, like this COVID was very, 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 very serious, and we need to do stuff to try and control it. It's not something that should be dismissed and all that. And the fact that you guys are still going on this grift train about COVID, even though it's now close to endemic, like, aren't you, shouldn't be griffing for something else right now? Shouldn't there be? Ain't there like something you can cry about?
Well, remember he got all his views off of
I know
that Anthony Fauci as a neo-Nazi bioterrorist who was patient zero of the pandemic. So and that the big pharma vaccines are designed to break your necks and break your backs and cause you all these other problems. And that literally everybody was damaged by the vaccines, and we should be bombing the Pfizer and Moderna buildings and things like that.
I mean, my parents got vaccinated multiple times. I don't think they've been affected negatively by it, so I don't know about that one, Dore. But eventually your grip train's got to change because COVID's no longer going to be a thing to worry about probably in a few years, so I don't know how you're going to keep grip on that for long. Shouldn't you go after, like, wokeness and stuff like that? Should you go back to the grift that Ukraine's a bunch of neo-Nazis? At least that's more relevant. But the fact that he went after Cornell and pretty much ended his relationship with him because he would not acknowledge that COVID is his number one concern and lockdowns and all that. He's going to focus on other things. Oh my gosh. That was insane. Good job, Dore. Canceling another person that supported you. Let's see. Pretty much everyone on the left, TYT, Kyle, now Cornell. Who next? Oh, that's right. Ron Placone as well, his former guest.
Yep.
Like, who else you gonna cancel in your circle? Can't wait for that. If you don't agree with me on 100% everything, we're through. Except if you're Tulsi Gabbard and don't support Medicare for all, then I will support you still. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
So yeah, what do you guys say?
That was the moment we could tell that
it was a grift.
Jimmy Dore's an absolute grifter.
Yep.
And as I said, and if you want to get into that conspiracy land, another example of Jimmy Dore being a CIA agent, doing the establishment's work for them.
Yep. All right. So, any last words on this?
That last line was my last words on that.
Okay. That was hilarious. All right. So now, on to the next topics.
And that is GOP wants to rebrand pro-life.
Yeah, this happens after the last episode we did, because as we covered the last year when the Supreme Court got rid of Roe v. Wade, it has absolutely destroyed Republicans throughout the country. They lost the midterms because of it. Every single abortion legislation that came up to vote has overwhelmingly become pro-choice, and they have actively radicalized people towards my side of abortion too. Like, they have fucked themselves over so badly because of SCOTUS that they're actually trying to stop using the term pro-life because it's so toxic. Now, there's nothing you can do to change that, because no matter what you say, it's still really bad. One of the suggestions that they should change it to pro-baby, which is hilarious because you don't give a shit about the baby once it's born. But yeah, let's see how bad this is. And I have an actual picture of a poll during this video too that I'm going to have to show, and it's going to absolutely obliterate you pro-life retard. You're going to have to really think about your life choices after this poll.
This right here
I gotta go
is really interesting to me. So NBC News is reporting that Republicans are looking to ditch the terminology pro-life in favor of a new term. And apparently one of the ones they came up with was pro-baby. So let's see what they have to say here. NBC News reported that Republicans are looking to ditch the phrase pro-life in an effort to rebrand their opposition to abortion rights, perhaps as pro-baby. The abortion issue
has almost universally been blamed for the 2022 midterm rout that saw an unexpected red wave dry up in a narrow House majority and a slim Democratic majority in the Senate in the wake of the Supreme Court's 5-4 decision in Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization, which effectively overturned Roe v. Wade. Now,
Yep, that's exactly what cost you in the midterms. That issue alone. If you didn't overturn Roe v. Wade, you probably would have had your red
let me
wave.
pause here to point out, I think it's a little more complicated than this. Abortion was a big factor, for sure. Maybe the biggest factor.
It
but
is the
another big
biggest
factor
factor.
was that I believe the number was about 70% of the Republican candidates were election deniers, or maybe it might have been just over 50%. Either way, a majority of the Republican candidates were election deniers.
I don't think election deniers, unfortunately, Kyle, were that big. Like, they were running before Roe v. Wade was overruled, and they were winning quite comfortably. And then when Roe v. Wade was overturned, that's when it changed. So I don't think the election deniers, as bad as they are, were the main catalyst. It was simply just Roe v. Wade being overturned.
Hurt them. And the other thing that hurt them is some of the policies that the Biden administration and Democrats have pursued have helped the Midwest in particular. And it's bringing back 800,000 jobs to that area. And that was reflected in the results, that this region was like, thank you, we appreciate it. And they voted way more for Democrats, or in a way higher clip for Democrats than people expected. Okay, so I think those three factors are probably the biggest factors. But yes, the abortion one was a big one. And you can see that also in the vote in Kansas, where it's a super red state, but they overwhelmingly voted for abortion rights. Same thing in Ohio. Ohio is voting to protect abortion rights, even though it's a red +6 or +8 state. Really interesting stuff. According to exclusive new reporting from the NBC News team of Julie Sirkin, Kate Santilas, blah, 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 we don't need to go to the name. Senate Republicans are workshopping a new way to describe their stance as pro-life has failed to resonate, with one suggesting pro-baby as a gisty jumping off point. Gisty jumping off point. That's a weird word. Never saw that one before. At a closed-door meeting of Senate Republicans this week, the head of a super PAC closely aligned with Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell presented poll results that suggested voters are reacting differently to commonly used terms like pro-life and pro-choice in the wake of last year's Supreme Court decision that overturned Roe v. Wade, said several senators who were in the room. Senator Todd Young summarized Wednesday's meeting as being focused on pro-baby policies. Asked whether senators were encouraged to use a term other than pro-life, Young said his pro-baby descriptor was just a term of my creation to demonstrate my concern for babies.
Sure.
Senators who attended Law's presentation
Dore.
said he encouraged Republicans to be as specific as possible when they described their position on abortion, highlighting findings that he said could have a negative impact on elections. Many senators in attendance represent states where Republican-led legislatures are pursuing abortion restrictions. Okay.
There is nothing you can say or do that's going to make your position look good. The simple fact is, if you want to get any support, you have to be pro-choice. That's the end of it.
So they're trying to find a way out of the fact that substantively their take is not popular. That's what's going on here. So if you look at the polling results, I mean, they vary, but like it's between 60 and 80% of the countries said, I support Roe versus Wade. And it was the Republican Supreme Court that overturned Roe versus Wade. It's the Republican Party that has, for decades and decades now, said we are against Roe versus Wade. And the most popular position is to have abortion legal, only restricted basically in the late term. And so they're trying to find a way to massage the fact that their position is the more unpopular position. Because a lot of these people in their heart of hearts, what they want is abortion banned from the moment of conception. And that's a very
Project
true
2025.
And so one way to do that would be for them to just focus on
possibly even murdering women
we're not the
who
extremists, it's the Democrats who are the
are
extremists. And you do
seeking
hear this language
abortion.
from time to time. Now, it's a lie, but they say it. They're like, oh, Democrats are in favor of post-birth abortion.
That's not even a thing. Why do these idiots even say that? That's not even a thing. It's not it's not a post-birth abortion. It's murder at that point. It's not.
Yeah.
And it's not happening either. Just stop.
They want to murder babies.
Oh my gosh.
It's such a straw man. You talk to any individual Democrat, of course I don't want to murder babies. The framework I believe in is Roe versus Wade, which, by the way, is a moderate or like center-left framework, where the first trimester it's a right, the second trimester you could have some health regulations, and the third trimester, if states so choose, they can ban late-term abortion. And then they changed it in Casey to what's called the fetal viability standard, which is basically as soon as the fetus is viable, then it's a slightly stricter standard than Roe versus Wade, but it's still a moderate or like center-left kind of standard. And so the best they can do is, I don't know, I'm pro-baby. Oh, really? You guys are pro-baby.
You want to give them financial assistance after the baby's born? Oh, wait, you
Of
don't?
course not.
You don't want maternal leave? Oh, wait, you don't want that either? Oh, so much for being pro-baby.
Really? You guys were across the board against the extension of the child tax credit.
And also another thing, too, since Kyle brought up, too, Brianna, Republicans are overwhelmingly against free school lunches to the point where Republicans in some states are trying to outright ban it from being even a possibility to discuss. Bruh.
Yep.
You're against feeding kids at school? How evil can you be?
Now, there were a handful of Democrats who were against it, like Joe Manchin. He was against the extension of it. There's like 6 or 7 Democrats.
But Vosh said Manchin is better than any Republican. Didn't you hear that recently? Even though he's literally
Republican. Bush being a CIA agent.
Even though Manchin is literally...
As I said, my conspiracy theory is that Dore and Bush are buddies behind the scenes at the CIA.
Yeah, because Manchin is such an awesome Democrat that he agrees with pretty much Republicans on every single issue. Yeah, we need to have him in there.
He's a dino. He's a Democrat in name only,
issues,
but literally every other way imaginable, he's a Republican. In fact, I'm amazed that he literally hasn't gone, you know what, I'm no longer a Democrat, I'm now a Republican.
Was like, let's not. These are the people who want to absolutely destroy the social safety net. Rip it apart.
Which, by the way, good old Charlie Kirk's dumbass just recently said he hates retirement.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, you don't... Oh, I bet you can't wait till when you're old enough to get in. Oh, you can't get anymore. Oh, because guess what? Your stupid right-wing grift ain't going to work on us millennials and Gen Z, you know, because you're failures.
Yep. Slash it. They also want to reduce Medicaid and Social Security and Medicare. Never mind the other programs like WIC. WIC is like a program specifically for babies to get baby formula and some other things, and these guys want to cut it. They want to put it totally on the chopping block.
They want babies to die.
So the idea, and by the way,
yes,
you know what else they're against?
They want babies to die. They want everyone to die that don't agree with them.
Paid sick leave. These are pro-baby policies. And they're like, what if we call ourselves pro-baby without...
And by the way, those policies would actually lead to higher birth rates, which you guys seem to care so much about.
The whole white genocide conspiracy.
Paid maternity leave, paid paternity leave, paid family leave, paid sick leave, whatever, all these things. So they're just effectively what they're trying to do is just put lipstick on a pig. That's what they're trying to do. And what I would try to impress upon them is, look, it doesn't matter what sort of marketing campaign you use. I think we're at the point now on this issue in particular where people are going to see through it. You could use whatever words you want, whatever turn of phrase, whatever you think is clever and witty and might help. But I think fundamentally, it's not going to land because people know where you really are on this issue. Because I'll tell you what, pro-life is actually pretty good political framing. Like, obviously these people want to...
Like, guys, even though the vast majority of Americans support abortion, right? Like, the majority of Americans actually identify as pro-life. Like, that's a contradiction if you think about it. How can majority of Americans overwhelmingly support abortion but announce themselves as pro-life? Because terms don't have meaning. Like, Hunter Avalon, my dad, and Kyle somewhat too, even though he identifies as pro-choice. They identify a lot with the pro-life frame, not the framing, but the term. My dad and Hunter Avalon, they identify as pro-life, but they support abortion.
Yep.
Like they're more in the framing of like they support Roe v. Wade and don't want like late term abortions, which Kyle is too. But like they identify as that, but are still effectively pro-choice. People identify as one thing, but they're not actually that. Same goes with like so many Americans. The majority of Americans identify themselves as center right, but then when you look at the polls, they support left wing policies over and over and over again. People don't know what they are actually.
Ban abortion from like the moment of conception, right? So it's also like they're pro-zygote and pro-gamete. Like, that's a more accurate way of describing it. But
they're just like humans, don't you know? That deserve rights.
For them to make their case. And even that isn't working anymore, right? So I don't think pro-baby is going to change anything. Like I just said, there's a million and one ways in which they're not at all pro-baby. But also just on this issue in particular, I don't think it's going to change a damn thing. But also the final point is, what you see here from Republicans is, this is what they're good at. What they're good at is like, we believe in horrendous things across the board. How do we make that more palatable? And how do we find a way to act like, actually, the majority of Americans are with us, and it's the Democrats who are super extreme in every way, shape, and form? They are very, very good at this.
It's something
Whereas
I wish
the
Democrats were good at, but they just really
Yeah.
are.
They'll be like, and they won't know how to make their case. They won't know how to, use repetition and use certain phrases and emphasis to get their message across. And that is sort of like a big issue for Democrats, is that there's none of this going on in the Democratic Party.
Biden does so many awesome things. Like, of course, remember leaving Afghanistan 2 years ago, which was something that almost every single American wanted, but his polls went down because of it. Because no one would defend him and make his case for it. And he wouldn't do shit about it. If you actually fought for it and actually defended him, maybe he would be positively viewed right now. And stuff like that. But no one covers any good things he does except like us and Kyle and all that. No one else covers it. Even like mainstream media doesn't even really cover it.
The Republican Party, they will make a decision, and it will top down every single one of the Democratic or Republican senators and congresspeople will start hammering away on their talking points. And it will make some semblance of an impact, usually, right? I think this issue is too far gone to make a difference, but in many ways, they do end up putting lipstick on the pig. The Democrats can't sell you like a bottle of champagne, right? Hey, you like champagne, right? Like, here, have this. They don't know how to make the argument for it. So,
because they're
anyway,
pussies.
it's interesting stuff going on. At least they're realizing this stuff is unpalatable. And by the way, this is what happened. Remember that Sean Hannity clip we showed where Sean Hannity was talking to, who was it? Was it Rick Santorum? Or I think it was Mike Huckabee. And he was like, look, man, I hate to say it, but I think maybe the Republicans have gone a little too far on this issue. And it's
when freaking propagandist Sean Hannity thinks you've gone too far, you know you done screwed up. When has Sean Hannity ever done anything good in his life? He's a partisan hack. And now all of a sudden he's saying that you're going too far. You know you done screwed up.
It's hurting us electorally. When Sean Hannity Sean Hannity is the biggest Republican Party cheerleader I've ever seen. Huge partisan hack, and even he was like, maybe we went a little too far. That is saying something. Hey, y'all, do me a favor.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. So, yeah, what do you have to say about that? Them wanting to rebrand from pro-life to pro-baby.
Irony.
Yep.
Because they're actually anti-baby, really.
Yep. Like, it's not going to work. The majority of Americans identify as pro-life, even though they are pro-choice. And it's, like, too ingrained. Like, it's not going to change. Mm-hmm. Just like you're all going to say we're pro-abortion all that when we're not. We're pro-choice. We want the option to be there for women who do want to have an abortion. But if they don't want to, that's their choice too. Whereas you guys don't want any options whatsoever because you're authoritarian cunts.
Exactly.
All right. Oh, yeah. And now, for the devastating thing, since Kyle mentioned it but he didn't go into detail, I'm going to show you this too. As we've mentioned in the show before, how the polls on abortion, like I've always said for like the last few years, 50% of Americans think abortion should be legal in most circumstances, 30% think it should be legal in all cases, and like 19% think it should be illegal. Well, a new poll came out. This was back in May, so it's a few months old, but this is devastating. Here it is. The new Gallup poll on where you think abortion should be legal under any circumstances, legal under certain circumstances, or illegal in all. So, remember 50% of Americans think abortion should be legal under most circumstances. That went up to 51%, so that's a 1% increase. Legal under any circumstance went from 30 to 34%, so that's a 4-point swing. And then finally, illegal in all case went from 19% to 13%.
Nice.
A swing, a 6-point drop. Not only are you so radical that even people that agree with you think you've gone too far, you radicalize people towards the opposite extreme and all that. So, thank you for being so radical. You helped my position. So, overall, as you see, 85% of Americans think abortion should be legal in some form. It was like just 80%. Now it's up to 85%. The vast majority of Americans are pro-choice. They think abortion should be legal in some circumstances, some regard. That's what Roe v. Wade was. It made where abortion cannot be banned for the first 24 weeks, and that covered like almost every single abortion. That is the correct policy, and that's why Roe v. Wade must be back in.
Exactly.
And that's why, too, us in Maryland next year and a whole bunch of other states are going to vote to make abortion a constitutional right in our state. I can't look forward. I'm looking forward to that so much next year. If I don't know if I'm going to be voting for Biden or Cornell or whatever, but I will definitely go out to vote for that with a big smile on my face when I circle yes. Fucking idiots. So yeah, your radicalization caused people to turn to the opposite extreme, and you have no one to blame but yourselves. So when we say be pro-choice, you need to be pro-choice for the sake of your own party winning. All you pro-lifers need to just drop your violent, evil views, because you're losing doing it. But hey, if you want to keep losing, by all means, go right ahead. I'll keep vibing with all the pro-choice victories we've had in the year since you've got rid of Roe v. Wade. All right, So now, on to the next topic.
And that is Karen Bobbert being a whore, or as I call her, loser butthurt.
Oh boy, this is hilarious. So, Lauren Bobbert, oh my god, she is honestly even more insane than probably Karen Green, who we made fun of in the last year or so. She is a congressman too, just like Karen Green. And recently, oh boy, she was at some sort of play with her new partner, and she made a fool of herself. And oh boy, they were getting a little kinky in public too.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So guess what? I'm gonna proudly call her a whore and mock her for it too, and slut shame her, because that's what she would do. Now tables are turned. Now she can be slut shamed, and I'm gonna call her that too. Serves her right, stupid bitch. That's what you get for being a stupid hum.
Here, so Lauren Bobbert went to the show Beetlejuice in Denver. It's at like the Denver Theater, or a theater in Denver, and apparently she's dating some guy who's a bar owner who also happens to be a Democrat. Funny fact. This dude had or has drag shows at his bar. This is
Yep, that makes
Bobbert.
That makes Bobbert loser butthurt a child molester.
Yeah,
according to her own topic.
Yeah. Not only are you a whore, but you're for child molestation and grooming kids because your new partner supports the evil trans agenda? Not my words, your words. Now you're dating this bastard? Oh, not only are you a whore, you are a child groomer. Remember, guys, I'm using her words, not mine. I don't care who she dates. I don't care about any of that. But when she acts like supporting trans rights is child grooming, I'm going to make fun of her for that. Because you are a hoe.
Like,
you are a hoe.
Right-wing freak out. The hysterical freak out has been about drag shows.
Enjoy slut shaming.
And here she is dating a guy who is proudly having those shows at his bar. All right, but
sounds like my question is, why would this bar owner, why would you even want anything to do with this Karen if you are pro-trans rights? Why? There is nothing redeemable about her. She's a bitch.
It became a big deal. Yeah. Lauren Bobbert and her date were kicked out of Beetlejuice. Now, why is that? Well, there's a list of reasons. Number one, apparently she was vaping in there. Number two, she was taking pictures when you're not allowed to take pictures. Number three, she was being very disruptive by, like, singing and dancing, and so, like, she was annoying people with how she was moving and that she was, like, screaming the songs or whatever. And then there's also one other reason why they were kicked out. And you're about to see a wee bit of that right here. Basically, she was being disruptive the entire time. By the way, also on the way out, she like, was arguing with the people and gave the security the middle finger or whatever. Anyway, but here's the part which became
I want to speak to your manager.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
What went down. Watch.
Come on, let out that Karen level energy. All right, so of course, at some theater, if you see in the video, her partner is groping her tits out in public. Bobbert the whore. Also, if you didn't see her dress, it was very revealing. That is quite whorish behavior there, Bobbert. Ooh, what are you doing? You're supposed to dress very modestly, like Mayumi would, for crying out loud, and stuff like that. You're out here flaunting your tits in a dress that barely holds them up. Your dress goes barely down to your knees. You, boy, don't bend over or you're going to get an anime moment, you fucking whore.
And you're going to get a lot more than just Jimmy Dore making comments. And they're going to be way more sexually harassive than just nice news stress.
To this podcast style, you have her date is feeling all up on her titties. He's got the hand going full effect. Her hand is on his dick. Now she's got both hands on his dick.
Whacking him off in public, people!
Yep. In front of
isn't
kids,
really all that
too.
Oof. Hey, so you see it, guys. They're fondling each other out in public. Possibly kids there, too. But, of course, is she a child groomer, apparently? No, according to you guys' eyes. Even though by your own logic, she is. She is
By their
a
own
hoe.
logic, she's literally molesting she's literally raping those children.
So hands all up on the titties. Her hand all up on his dick and balls. There's one.
Yeah.
Now we get the other one.
She's literally holding his hand on her tits, too. Like, so she's actively making him do it, too. Or encouraging it.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
Now, I think the only reason why they even released this video is because she was acting early on like, I didn't even do anything wrong. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. And they're like, oh, really? And so you got...
I think she denied that she was vaping, and I think the video... Oh, yeah, there was a clip of her. I don't think Kyle shows it, but she was vaping, and some woman behind her had him, like, cussed her out for it, too.
Release this video. So she comes out and, I guess, responds.
I see a Karen-level energy face there.
And let's see what she had to say.
All right, let's hear this excuse of why you're such a dirty whore.
Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, announced an impeachment inquiry yesterday. We're facing a government shutdown and trying to fund
Your fault.
the federal government. We have a wide open southern border. We have Zelensky.
Open border. Oh, yeah, here's something, guys, that Biden is very bad on. He's very right-wing on immigration. He is doing pretty much all of Biden's policies. So if you guys care about like the wall and border security and all that, you should be pro Biden because he's doing what you want. He is not doing at all what we want. That is one of his worst things he's done. Fuck Biden in that regard for being right wing and on immigration. Fuck him.
Refugees
Fuck,
here. And
fuck that
what's the top
fucking being
story?
Donald
Lauren
Trump.
Boebert getting kicked out of the Buell Theater in Denver, Colorado.
That's what the media does. That's what the media does. So
Yes,
what went down?
I was a little too eccentric. I'm very known for having a animated personality.
Having sexual relationships in public? That seems really animated.
In the middle of a fucking
I was told to kind of settle it down a little
play.
bit, which I did. But then my next slip up was taking a picture of
Can't take any images of the play. I've done it too. I've snuck them. Shh. Right. So you got thrown out because you took a pic and you weren't supposed to.
God, this host is so annoying. Jesus Christ, man. What a loser. Shut up.
Here's my whole thing.
There's reports saying that I was arguing, threatening to call the Denver mayor. I don't know why I would ever call the Denver mayor. I think he would have tried to lock me up.
Yeah.
There's reports saying I was on the board of something. I don't know what I'm on the board of. I'm on the edge of a lot of things, let me tell you.
Edge? Edge. You know, I was edging
What
my
the
partner.
fuck?
I mean, I was on the edge of things? Come on.
Well, probably people that complained. Here's what I'm thinking. You're in Denver, Lauren. It's very liberal. The people that complained to the ushers that you were being noisy could have recognized you and been like, oh, that's
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt. You know, you have a right to jack off your date. You have a right to annoy everybody in the theater. Come on. Their victim complex is endless.
Girl. Yeah, exactly. You know how they are. I get it. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, I think you explained it well enough, and the mainstream media can take a fly. And you take care. Have a good day.
Everybody's talking about this. And the point that everybody's making that I think is absolutely fair and completely 100% accurate is, man, you can find a montage of Lauren Boebert leaning into the whole, like, bro, Christianity, bro, family values.
As I be a hoe in public.
Yep.
I'm whore myself. Might as well just be a prostitute. Prostitutes probably have more standards than she does.
That's what I was thinking.
Bro, I'm pro-life. I'm pro-traditional marriage, bro. I'm pro-traditional marriage, bro.
I'm
Even
so
now, one
pro
of the
far
causes
right
on the right
that I'll
is-
wear a skimpy dress with my tits about to drop out in front of everyone, get fondled in public, whack someone off, be a complete Karen to everyone, and all that.
Like, end no-fault
Yep.
divorce, of course. Marjorie Taylor Greene is divorced. So all.
Oh yeah, Bobbert I think is divorced too. So oof.
Oh yeah, that's right. She is.
You can't
too.
get. Remember, by your own far right Christianity, you can't divorce. That's a sin. Remember, but here you are, divorced. And I think when it comes to Karen Green, I think she's been divorced multiple times too.
Yep.
Conservatively, bro. And then she's in the theater like, jacking people up. I'm gonna jack you up. You wanna be jacked off, bro? I'll jack you up. Oh, man. So, I got to be honest with you guys. I'd give her a total pass if she wasn't a colossal hypocrite.
And you know what, too? I, by and large, would say the exact same thing.
Right.
If she wasn't a fucking far-right Karen that preaches this Christian fundamentalist garbage, I probably would have said not one thing. If it was anyone else, I would not be making fun of them and calling them a whore and all that. But because it's Karen Bobbert and she preaches this crap, sorry, I am going to make fun of her. I don't care what you say. I'm going to slut-shame her because she is a slut by her own logic, and I'm going to make sure she feels the pain for it.
On the family values train.
Yeah.
I'd give her a total pass. Now, look, to be fair, this is more like, 21-year-old type activity. Getting a hand job in a theater, right? Vaping at a place where you're not supposed to vape. I mean, I can't talk. I was at the tennis U.S. Open the other week, and I vaped, and then one of the security guards was like, Stop it, bro, we'll kick you out. And I was like, all right, hey, my bad. I didn't know I couldn't vape. I didn't, because the stadium's kind of like outside, right? Like the top was uncovered, and so I didn't think it was a big deal. Apparently it was. Anyway, but put everything together, disrupting the show, singing, recording, vaping, jacking people off, getting your titties felt up, 21-year-old type behavior, but total pass if you weren't a moral, grandstanding prick, acting like you're holier than thou for everybody, acting like you're all about Christianity. So, would have given a total pass. Can't give it now just because she's such a hypocrite. But look, if the shoe was on the other foot and you had a politician who wasn't a morally grandstanding prick, harping away on Christian values, then I do give a total pass, right? Good example is the woman running in, I forget her name now, but she's running in Virginia, and apparently her and her husband did some sex acts online, recorded it, to try to get some tips. And everybody, the opposing campaign released it as a coordinated revenge porn hit job to try to go after her.
Isn't revenge porn illegal?
Yes, it is.
Oof. And also, so what if people want to post porn of themselves online? Why is that a bad thing? It's not.
And it's like, no, see, she's not running on, I'm a Christian, I'm all about moral values, I'm all about being prudish. So, total pass to her. Total pass. She shouldn't do anything wrong. She's not a hypocrite. She's not contradicting her own value set, so who cares? And I would be saying the same thing for Lauren Boebert if she wasn't such a deep hypocrite. Which leads me to the final point I want to make here, which is, at the same time this story came out, about a day before, we got this story. So Kristi Noem is, of course, the governor of, South or North Dakota? It doesn't matter. They're the same. One of them is Doug Burgum.
You probably would have triggered each state for that.
She's the governor of one of those states. And I think she's going to be Trump's.
I dare it, Kyle. If you compare us, Maryland to Virginia, you're going to hear a mouthful.
Really boring. He doesn't want somebody who's charismatic because then they outshine him. And a woman. That's what he wants. She fits the ticket perfectly. Okay.
Pull Trump? Your main focus for a vice president is that that's a woman? That seems pretty pull. Shouldn't you care about what policies they agree with?
We learned that Kristi Noem and was having a long-term affair with Corey Lewandowski. Lewandowski was one of Trump's right-hand men.
You a whore, Noem?
An article came out detailing they would go to these conferences that you wouldn't expect them to go to, and the reason they were going to it is so that they could get together and fuck behind the scenes in the hotel. And again, I don't care. It's their private life. You do what you want. But the problem is they're married. They're both married, respectively, not to each other, to other people, and they talk a big game about Christianity and family values. Boo! So here, let's
guys, how many times we gotta tell you this? When people preach all this stuff, they're always hypocrites. Just like all the freaking people, the most fervently anti-gay, are always the ones that eventually found out in the closet, which I will be expecting Crowder very soon to do that.
Yep.
This little montage.
We must be people who
especially when we found about his sexual harassment recently, too.
People have no values, I don't know.
The importance of family values.
My family. I've got 4 young kids. I've got a wife who lives in New Hampshire.
Republican, conservative principles and values.
Fighting every day for the core values.
My faith is incredibly important to me.
Faith is so important.
Are a hoe.
Created the person that I am today. And that's how I make my decisions.
You are a Karen.
You are a slut.
We've seen our society, our culture.
You are literally a cheater, too.
Hypocrisy. All these people who make accusations against other candidates only to find out that their own house is not in order.
God's faithfulness in our life every day. If you don't have that in your life, then your emotions
God.
You
Don't mind me
not
fucking someone who's not my partner.
And what we have finally seen is some of those things are coming back to haunt those very same people.
Are you considering a run for the presidency?
I think it's best if I stay focused where I am and continue to visit with my family and pray.
And make South Dakota be dog shit?
I've never been so humbled of anything in my life.
And I'm hopeful that people will not just know me for COVID.
They definitely know you for more than just COVID now.
Yeah,
So,
you're a whore and a cheater.
That's crazy, detailing their...
I swear, like, if it was anyone else, that's a very common thing that would take down someone when they cheat and when they're a politician. But for some reason, Republicans, they always get away with it. It's because because their base doesn't have standards, yet they put those standards on the left. And they're hypocrites about it. If you're so anti-cheating, then be against it when it's on your side.
Fair, because there was a time when Lewandowski is apparently just a total dog, man. Because so not only is he cheating on his wife with Kristi Noem, they had a long-term thing going, probably still do. But also, there's a moment where they're at some like donor retreat or something, and it's at a restaurant, and Lewandowski sees some other woman he's attracted to. He goes and sits next to her, gets absolutely hammered drunk, and then he starts bragging to her about his dick, and he starts talking about how, my dick is longer than, my dick is abnormally long. He said something like that, and this woman was like,
you deserve a hentai
mortified,
slap from an anime.
Hentai. And still after that, like him and
oh, yoy! From To Love Ru, we have a deviant here.
Yep. And again, look, I'm
not
not judging people. You do whatever the hell you want to do. It's none of my business. It only becomes my business when you're a total, blatant, brazen hypocrite. You're telling everybody you're holier than thou. You're all about family values and, all that nonsense. So, anyway, there you have it. That was the big story of the week. Salacious nonsense, but there you go. Hey, y'all,
oh, my God. That was hilarious. Karen Bobbert now, being a cunt as always. And a cheater. And a hoe.
Yep.
Or as, Lewis's father in Family Guy said to his dog one time, you're a whore. A filthy, filthy whore.
Yep.
So what are you going to say about this?
Why am I not surprised? Another
right,
fucking hypocritical douche weasel.
And yes, I cannot wait any moment now for Cryer to come out of the closet, and we're gonna laugh and laugh and laugh, as we called it when we covered, like, in the second episode when he did his, like, Hitler's a socialist crap. We know it, and I can't wait, and it's gonna be funny. Just like all these hardcore religious fundamentalist women keep exposing themselves as whores who cheat too.
Yes.
Fucking idiots. All right. So now, on to the next topic.
That would be Chris Christie being pro-trans. WTF?
Yeah, it's surprising too. And it turns out, now of course, you shouldn't probably believe him, but he was on Fox News recently, and he came out somewhat pro-trans rights compared to Republicans. In the terms of he doesn't
the fucking bar is in the Earth's core, so...
But this one actually might surprise you. It definitely surprised me when I first saw Kyle cover this, because this is wild.
So Chris Christie is a deeply, deeply conservative guy. Now, sometimes people forget that, particularly because he's running for president in the Republican primary, and he's made, like, the core of his campaign dumping on Trump 24/7. And look, I respect it, because somebody's got to go out there and tell the truth about Trump from within the Republican Party. Christie's doing that. He's only at like 3% in the polls. To be fair, I think in New Hampshire he's doing a lot better. I think he's in like second or third place in the polls in New Hampshire because it's northeastern Republicans. They're more moderate, so more relatively anti-Trump than Republicans in the South, for example, or the Midwest. But anyway, somebody's got to do it. It's a dirty job. Somebody's got to do it. So he's out there doing that. But again, he's very conservative. Like, he will argue for, he'll fearmonger about the debt and the deficit. He'll talk about entitlement, Social Security and Medicare, and act like we got to cut them. He's in favor of cutting more taxes for corporations and for the wealthy. He's a very, very hawkish on foreign policy. Like that.
I remember the video I covered when he ran in 2016 where he wanted to bomb Russian troops in Syria and start World War III.
I remember that.
Yep, that was a fun one I did.
Down the line, very conservative. That's who he is. Every now and then, though, he will stun you. This is one of those instances right here. So he's going to be asked a question about trans issues, and listen to his reaction.
How far would you go on this? Would you ban gender-affirming care for young people?
No, I wouldn't do that. Again, this is inconsistent with the point I just made. I want parents to be in charge of taking care of their children. I want parents to be in charge of making those decisions for minors. I don't want governors in some capital making those decisions. I want mothers and fathers who love their children, understand them, and have a greater stake in them than anyone to be making those decisions.
That is stunning, guys. He just said...
That is amazing.
That is stunning. He would not ban gender transitions, whereas every other Republican wants to. That is... Yep. I can't believe I'm saying this, but thank you and based Chris Christie. And that is just insane. Now, of course, along with him being like hardcore, like anti-Trump, that will probably cost him a chance to win the Republican nomination, which honestly, especially now that DeSantis is not doing so good, might actually be a good thing, because DeSantis, especially after he said that, is actually very scary if he got the nomination, because he actually could beat, he can actually beat Biden. Because guys, even though he's an asshole like Trump, he doesn't rub people the wrong way like Trump. He did piss off people like Trump did before Trump came in, but he just doesn't do it anymore, even though he's the same. But he doesn't deny, like, the election results. If he loses to Biden, I think he would acknowledge it. So that's something that really hurts Trump. That won't hurt Christie. And he is not as hated as Trump. That's another thing that helps Christie. And on this too, he's not as hateful of trans people as the other Republicans are. So that is another thing that keeps people away from supporting Republicans, because they hate trans people and want to die. He doesn't seem to be as genocidal. So that is a scary combination, where that could be enough to maybe potentially, if he got the nomination, him potentially beating Biden. Because that's the main thing that's holding Trump back. Because he was an awful president. He will not shut up about the fact that he lost the election, and the Republicans are so batshit insane on like abortion and trans rights and stuff like that that scares people away. And unfortunately, I think Christie... this has been a long time ago since I last read about on this, but I think he is anti-abortion, which not surprised if Christie is. So maybe that would hurt him, but he's a lot scarier if he was a nomination than like Trump and all them, because he actually could get people to vote for him, because he's not as bad or as fascist like as others view Trump and the others are. So that's a scary thing.
Look, got to keep it real. In a Republican primary, this question is supposed to be a layup in the other direction. You know, hey, should you ban gender-affirming care for minors? I would think every other Republican, except, wait, who was the one? Was it Asa Hutchinson or was it Doug Burgum? I think it was Asa Hutchinson vetoed a bill to do this in his state of Arkansas. So, okay, I guess there's two. Two Republicans would say no. The rest of them would be like, absolutely ban it for minors. Trump was asked this from Megyn Kelly. Even he was like, yeah, I would do that. Now, look, Chris Christie, on other trans issues, he says the thing you would expect him to say, right? Whether it's sports or I think even bathrooms or whatever, there's a number of issues where he says the thing you would expect a Republican to say. But on this one, he's like, no. Now, again,
another thing too, guys. This is actual small government.
Yeah.
Him being pro-trans rights in this regard, where he's not going to ban transition on it. This is actual small government. This is the small government that us progressives support. And it's the small government that conservatives claim to support, but are actually for big government to try and ban it. And I think he even brought it up too. I don't know if he brought it up in the video Kyle covered or later on or somewhere, but I remember him saying that this is actual small government position, not try and ban it. So ideologically, he is right on that one, and of course, it is the right position. If it's up to the parents and the doctors' decisions on whether or not what happens with their kids, not far right dipshits that want them to die.
The reasoning is interesting, because his reasoning is, hey, I would be a hypocrite to my conservative values,
as I was just
saying, if I didn't invoke parents' rights for this line of argument too. Because just 7.5 seconds ago, all the Republicans were talking about parents' rights when it comes to, you know, the topics of discussion and education in schools. Like, hey, if the parents chime in and say, I don't want you teaching that to my kid, they have every right. It's the parents' choice, parents' rights. They're in charge. The buck stops with them. The school can't override them. What are you talking about? Like, that was the line of argument. And so what Chris Christie is saying is, hey, if you're a conservative You believe in small government. You believe in, as much as possible, leaving the decisions up to the individuals.
I'm pausing for a moment because I just looked up his views on abortion. He's a states' rights person. He thinks Roe v. Wade is wrong. It should be up to the state's decision whether or not to do anything about abortion. And he claims this. Now, of course, you shouldn't probably believe him because he's a far-right dipshit still. That he would not support an abortion ban throughout the country if it came up to him. Now, I don't believe him on that, but that's what he says. So
I don't know that.
Well, in this instance, if I'm being consistent with that standard, well, I would say leave it up to the parents, leave it up to the families, leave it up to them in consultation with a doctor or an expert on the issue. Who am I, as a governor, to interject, to step in and say, oh, I disagree, I'll ban this? He would look at that and say, that's actually authoritarian. That's big government. I don't want big government. So, look, it goes to show you how when you apply standards politically, sometimes it makes for strange bedfellows, right? And here, all he's doing is applying his parents' rights standard in the area of trans kids as well. But I guarantee you, this is something the right will lose their mind over. I mean, I don't know if any of them even heard him say this because not many people are following his campaign on the right, but they would be like, Jesus Christ, this Chris Christie's a communist now or something like that, right? So, I don't know. I find this clip very, very interesting. Homie is not afraid to buck orthodoxy from time to time. It's just a shame that he's so wrong on so many issues, or else he'd be a really, really interesting guy. Hey, y'all, do me a favor.
And him being right on this one issue could potentially keep him from winning the nomination, which is actually good.
Exactly.
Which is good because if he got the nomination, him being more pro-trans rights in this regard, and plus him being anti-Trump and not an election denier, could make him a scary contender to beat Biden and all that. So yeah, we had to say about this. Him being pro-trans rights, although I still don't probably believe him. I think if push comes to shove, he would be against trans rights. But hey, at least good he says it. That would help him in terms of people's views on him.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely surprising that he said, when I saw this video, I knew this had to be a topic. That was completely surprising. Alright, so now, on to the next topic, I guess.
Finally, the final topic. Biden backs auto work strikers.
And this is actually something that someone like Brianna Joy Grey should acknowledge something good. So, recently, auto workers across the country are, I don't know if they have yet or about to, are going to go on a strike to try and get better pay and rights and stuff from the auto industry. Because they are fucked over so badly, and it's a very important industry in America, producing cars and such. And of course, all the big free automakers are having a meltdown about it, and of course, all the idiots on CNBC and all those nut jobs are having a meltdown over it. And Biden is actually siding with them. And I also found too, because I don't know if they're going to cover it on this Majority Report video, because I didn't watch it yet, but as we're waiting for you to join on, I saw a tweet that Biden is actually gonna go join one of the strikers groups during this protest. The current president is gonna go visit strikers. Guys, that's huge! Insane. That is huge! That's awesome! That is undeniably good. Now, of course, why couldn't he do that with the rail workers when we covered it last November, remember that, where he fucked them over and stuff like that? I don't get it. But on this one, this is awesome. The fact that the Senate president is not only supporting you, but actively at your organizations, that hopefully will be enough to scare all the big free automakers into caving completely. That would be absolutely awesome. So now, let's watch the Majority Report on this one.
Spoke to David Dayen on Friday. In part, we were talking about the UAW strike. And
United Auto Workers.
Just before we went on air, Joe Biden spoke at the White House on Friday and addressed the UAW's decision for some of its members to go on strike. Here is that clip.
Auto companies have seen record profits, including the last few years, because of the extraordinary skill and sacrifices of the UAW workers. But those record profits have not been shared fairly, in my view, with those workers. just as the Treasury Department has released a report pointing out that the most comprehensive report ever dealing with how unions are good for both union workers and non-union workers and the overall economy. Unions raise workers' wages, they said, incomes, increase home ownership, increase retirement savings, increase access to critical benefits like sick leave and child care, and reduce inequality, all of which strengthen our economy for all workers. That's because unions raise standards across the workplaces and entire industries, pushing up wages and strengthening benefits for everyone. That's why strong unions are critical to a growing economy and growing it from the middle out, the bottom up, not the top down. That's especially true as we transition to a clean energy future, which we're in the process of doing.
So, Gee, Biden, like, all those things are absolutely awesome, which is strange to me. Why didn't you support the rail workers last year? Because you said the exact same thing that we were saying about the rail workers last year, but you didn't support them in that one. I don't get all those things you say about the auto workers also applies to the rail workers. What, you think the railroad industry in America is not important as the auto industry? Bullshit.
No.
There you have it.
I just don't get it.
He
said the exact same
were
things,
reports
but
that
not the rail workers. I don't get
spoke
it.
to Fain and was trying to protect some of those EV plants, and that is in some of what may be behind the selected car manufacturers, but we shall see. They were back at the table yesterday. Stocks, the car manufacturers' stocks have dropped, which of course is the most important thing in the world to them. They care about nothing else.
Well, that's how they're. That's how that is. Who's the female executive? One of the big three.
Mary.
Yeah. But she was.
Mary Barra.
Yeah, doing a lot of kind of smoke and mirrors about her
Our
compensation.
performance is
it's all
very
in performance,
good, right?
aka stock.
Our stock performance, right? Not our necessarily the quality of our cars. Not necessarily. I mean, there's a million other ways in which you could measure the performance of a corporation. In a week or two, we were scheduled to have him on next Monday, but it's Yom Kippur. Bill Lazonic will be on. And if you go back and listen to any of the interviews I've done with Bill Lazonic over the years, he outlines essentially how a combination of the rollback on allowing stock buybacks by the Reagan administration, something that was illegal prior to then just became a practice. The combination of the dropping the capital gains tax, significantly lower wage taxes, and a Clinton-era change in the tax code that also made it more beneficial to pay executives through stocks, basically created a misaligned incentive between those people who see the corporation as functioning within the context of a community for the function of the people who work there as well as the shareholders, to something that is basically just an enterprise, is like a side bet.
It's wild.
It's a cottage industry where the C-suite and the board of directors operate in what's their best interests, and sometimes that aligns with what's in best interest of the corporation, but not necessarily.
We're going to take this profit and instead of
talking for not much, saying much,
research and development or our workers, we're going to buy stocks,
enrich ourselves
to billions of dollars, driving up our price, our stock price.
It also artificially,
it's crazy.
The secondary part is that it artificially inflates the stock price as well, and that also makes it so that like the C-suite, the executives, are even further untethered from like the material production of these goods on the floor, because it's just like we're talking about two different ball games at this point. I just also want to point out that Biden saying that, we should note that Sean Fain has still, and the UAW, withheld their endorsement of Biden in 2024, and it's just something to monitor.
That could be a good way to get their endorsement by going and support them. That would be really big for you to get their endorsement. Which hopefully is a good reason why you did do it.
That they're making clear that they want more from him in exchange for that endorsement. I think it's a good move.
Yeah, Fain had a statement saying, appreciate the words with regard to like record profit should be a record contract, but also like make it clear that we've been at the table and it's been the management that has not been at the table.
Broken promises ever since the crash.
Here's a second clip from Biden.
But I also believe that the contract agreement must lead to a vibrant, made-in-America future that promotes good, strong middle-class jobs that workers can raise a family on, where the UAW remains at the heart of our economy, and where the big three companies continue to lead in innovation, excellence, quality, and leadership. Last night, after negotiations broke down, the UAW announced a targeted strike at a few big three auto plants.
And they can, and the automakers can keep molding.
No one wants a strike.
Exactly.
But I respect workers' right to use their options under the collective bargaining system. And I understand the workers' frustration.
And as Biden just did recently, if you dare try to bust unions, you big free automakers, they're automatically accepted. So eat shit.
Yep.
And keep browning your pants in fear.
Over generations, auto workers sacrificed so much to keep the industry alive and strong, especially through the economic crisis and the pandemic.
Because unions are good people. Always remember that.
They help create for an enterprise. I do appreciate
all the rights as a worker you have right now, if you still have them, are all because of unions. You are benefiting from them, and you probably shit on too. So enjoy what you have, because a lot beforehand you did not have them, and you would die on the work.
Appreciate that the parties have been working round the clock. And when I first called them at the very first day of the negotiations, I said, please stay at the table as long as you can to try to work this out. And they've been around the clock, and the companies have made some significant offers. But I believe they should go further to ensure record corporate profits mean record contracts for the UAW. Let me say that again. Record corporate profits, which they have, should be shared by record contracts.
This sounds like Bernie almost.
Good stuff. International
That
Socialist
definitely
says,
deserves a Dark
Washington.
Brandon moment there.
Yeah.
And also, as I was letting him talk, I actually looked up the tweet, and Kyle also tweeted Dark Brandon GIF too as well. Biden said on Twitter, Tuesday, I'll go to Michigan to join the picket line and stand in solidarity with the men and women of UAW as they fight for a fair share of the value they help create. It's time for a win-win agreement that keeps American auto manufacturing thriving as well-paid UAW jobs. Awesome! Awesome!
Woo-hoo!
Awesome!
Dark Brandon epic moment.
That is definitely Dark Brandon moment.
Custodial artist.
And that will make me even more likely to possibly support you in 2024.
On the IM says, how much do you think of anything by...
Gee, I would wonder what Brianna Joy Grey and all those idiots would say about this. It's not enough still.
Nothing is enough for them.
He can be 100 times better than Trump, and I'm still not going to support him. Okay, then.
He could be infinity times better, and I'd still hate him.
I think
I don't like him either, but when he does good things, I will acknowledge it.
The rail strike... fundamentally different sort of calculation because of the statutory involvement of the United States with railway workers and with some flights too, I think, in terms of aviation. So it's a different ball game, but nevertheless, look, I don't know how you break down the percentage. But in terms of workers, there's obviously a lot more workers who are going to be touched by this UAW strike than railways. That said, obviously the transportation of the railways also has to do with basically the safety of a countless number of communities around the country, and those those business practices are just horrible. But there is no doubt that this administration is the best on labor that we've had, I mean, more or less in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Probably FDR. And that's that's 80 years ago now. Hell, in a lot of ways, possibly even better than FDR. Like, that's insane.
Certainly better than the Clinton administration, certainly better than the Obama administration. Those aren't necessarily the highest bars. But, It's better than those two, and by far, obviously, better than Reagan, who essentially ushered in this.
When has a Republican ever been pro-worker? Like, come on! When has that ever happened?
A friend of unions. But Ronald Reagan really ushered in this era in firing the air traffic controllers. And that's where we've been. And this is a turnaround. It is, we have talked to numerous labor leaders, from the Amazon strikes to the, Starbucks, and it makes a difference when the president comes out and is supportive. It makes a difference because just in terms of maintaining the solidarity of the union and the people are on the picket line. So it's helpful, and that's all you need.
So, yeah. What do you got to say about that awesome news? Not only does Biden support the strikers, he's going to be striking with them in Tuesday. Tuesday. That is awesome. Like, I said, I remember we said this 2 years ago when he got out of Afghanistan. That was probably Biden's best thing. And by and large, it still is up there. But now I'm starting to think that this, labor stuff might be one of the best things he's done. Because this actually helps people immensely. Oh. Yeah. And of course, oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. The Republican CNBC meltdown about the strike. But, we should ship out the jobs to Mexico if you strike. Or if you strike, you're fired. Which, by the way, Kyle's done videos with idiots on CNBC and Republicans saying exactly that. So, and the Republicans are not pro-worker. And, of course, we know
there's also a Republican, wasn't there also a Republican who was implying that he should, workers should be murdered for striking?
I think Kyle covered that too, or someone. Yeah. Guys, the Republicans don't care about workers. They want you to die. They want everyone to die who isn't rich and is like them, religious fundamentalist retards. They do not care about you. They never will. So don't ever support them. If Biden or Democrats are not enough for you to get their votes, that's fine. But don't ever vote for Republicans. They are actively evil, and they want you to die. They are bad. So yeah, what do you guys say about this awesome thing that Biden's done?
Fucking epic. It really is.
Incoming Brianna Joy Grey pouting and changing the subject. And all that stuff. Alright. Yeah. So yeah, this is awesome. And like I said, Biden, as someone who doesn't really like you, makes fun of you all the time, and didn't vote for you in 2020, this will make me a little bit more likely to want to vote for you next time in 2024 if you are the nominee. But of course, still gonna support Marion in the primaries, and you got a whole year to go still to get my vote. So if you want my vote, unlike Brianna, you can get my vote, but you have to keep doing progressive things. You have to go all the way to being Bernie. And you did sound like Bernie in that speech. Keep it coming, and maybe you can get my vote in 2024. Alright, so that is all the topics for this episode, guys. And see you next time for episode 86. And hopefully, if I could find that comment on YouTube again, maybe we could cover Biden's accomplishments, which I wanted to do early day for the Brianna thing, but couldn't find it. Alright, so see you guys next time for episode 86.
See you then.